So this is a very lush mountain. I'm right now at Taiping County of Huangshan City of Anhui Province. This program today we are going to focus on the Taiping Houkui tea. It's considered one of the best tasting tea in China, and today is the season of the hand plucking of the tea, and today I'm gonna bring you closer to that scene. We're talking about Taiping Houkui. Well, a lot of you may be very interested in its name. Well, let me tell you, I'm in an area by the bank of the Taiping Lake, and amongst all the green teas, Taiping Houkui has the best flavor and it's very mellow. And today I have a guest with me, and he is the responsible person of the tea industry of Houkui village, Mr. Yao. Dear viewers, good morning. My name is Lao Yaohua. I'm the general manager of Taiping Houkui factory in Huangshan City. Take a look at my gears today. I have a bamboo basket. I also have a walking stick. And behind me is nothing but mountains. And right over there, it's a tea garden because the Taiping Houkui tea grows on the mountain slopes. So I'm a beginner today. I have to rely on these gears. So I'm simply going to follow your steps. So where should we go? Well, we just move along this way. It's very steep. I have to remind our cameraman to be very careful. Can we take it slow? Don't rush. Well, it's very steep. It's such a narrow path. And on our right, we actually have an area that grows tea. Can we pluck the tea from here? No, this is not the tea from the tea garden. We have to arrive at our own destination. And the Houkui tea we are talking about is actually very large, and it features very wide tea leaves. And you have to pluck the tea at the right time when it reaches the width of 7 centimeters. And take a look at the tea here. And this is not mature yet. But in my impression, you just told me that Taiping Houkui is very large, but this is a tea tree. It's not very big. Well, it's among the 4 green tea types in China. This particular type is quite different. It's not very lush. So you can see that it grows into different branches. So when we talk about the size of Taiping Houkui tea, we're not talking about the size of the tea tree. We are only referring to the size of the tea leaves. So as I was told that the tea leaves of Taiping Houkui is 7 centimeters long. Well, this is only unique in this part of the area. I'm not referring to the Taiping Houkui teas in other places. Again, dear viewers, let me remind you that right now I'm at the Houkui village of Taiping, city of Anhui province. So, tell me something about the naming. Do you think it's related to the tea? All right, give me a hand. Thank you. So you can see that the tea farmers here, they are picking teas using their hand. You can see a lot of tea farmers. They are hand plucking the very fresh tea leaves. Take a look at the tea leaves. This is the standard of very mature tea. So this is just plucked from a Houkui tea tree. I'll take a look. Well, let me show it to our viewers today. Well, let's make a comparison with my hand, and my hand is roughly 18 centimeters, and this one here I'm holding, it takes half of my palm. And normally, if we're talking about the green tea, it's only 1 or 2 centimeters, but this Houkui tea is really a giant. So what are the standards that we follow when we pluck the teas? Well, is there any standards? Well, by standards, you have to ensure that with each plucking, you get 2 leaves and 1 stem. It won't exceed 7 centimeters, and that is the standard length of the tea leaf. But you can see that it's actually larger or longer than 7 centimeters. But when you bring it back, you have to cut the edge, and that shortens the length and gives you 7 centimeters. And you have to go through a training when you want to pluck tea from the garden. Just hold on a second and let me walk in front of you. I think it's better. Well, I see you have a lot of tea leaves in your basket. So how much does this weigh? And this is only 3 to 4 kilos, and normally one basket can hold 6 to 7 kilos. Well, I did some homework, and normally you should hand pick the tea leaves in the morning. Yes, that's correct. You have to get up very early at around 5:30, because sometimes the tea garden is very far away from where you live. You have to start from early in the morning. If it's a tea garden located in a very high elevation, you have to get up maybe at 5 o'clock. And by 10 o'clock, you will be able to fully fill your basket. So in the afternoon, you will be staying at home, further cultivating the tea leaves. So you will have to start processing the tea leaves in the afternoon after lunch. So this is very tender, very mellow. And you just told me that when I pick a tea, it has to contain 2 leaves and 1 stem, and it has to be 7 centimeters long. I just need to pluck it like this. Yes. Well, did I do well? Yes, you just need to cut the edge, and that will make it a standard sample of the Houkui tea. So you said that this is the green giant among all the green teas. So I have a question here. So the larger the tea leaves, the better? Well, there is a standard. You have to take a look at the size of the tea leaf. Well, this one is no good because it's very flat. Well, it tells you that this leaf is old, but this one here, you can see that the 2 edges are curling up. It shows you that this is very young and tender, and it's very tasty. We'll make it into tea leaves. So the one that you are holding is relatively older. All right, let me take it in front of the camera so that our audience can see very clearly. So the very standard tea leaf is those that the both edges are curling up, and when you do one plucking, it has to contain 2 leaves and 1 stem, and it has to feature a length of 7 centimeters. Don't take the leaves that are too flat because it indicates a older age. It will easily dry up. If it's too flat, it's no good. So make sure that leaves that you pluck has 2 edges curled up, and that means the tea leaf is very tender and it's very mellow. So let me have a quick wrap up. So first you have to do the hand plucking in the morning. You have to get up very early, and when you pluck the tea leaves from the tea tree, there are some standards that you follow. Make sure that each plucking contains 2 leaves and 1 stem. What are the other precautions we have to take? Well, you have to take a very close look at the shape of the tea leaf and make sure that it's not bitten by worms. It does not have those holes on it. It should not be shorter than 5 centimeters. It should not be longer than 10 centimeters. And also you have to pluck the tea leaves from the very top because that gives you the best taste. Or to grow such kind of tea, you have to be very careful with the location of the tea garden. Normally, it sits at a low altitude, but even when it is low altitude, the higher the mountain is, the better. And this is just the features of this particular variety of tea. So if you look up, you can see the sunshine on this side of the mountain slope. So when we were live streaming, we saw a lot of tea farmers returning home. Let me ask you a question. Are those tea farmers local here? Yes, most of them are locals here. And we also have some farmers from other cities, but they are most likely from within the province. Each time around spring, each year around this time, there are a lot of migrant workers who travel here to work as tea farmers so that they can make some extra money. And because we have a very large area of tea gardens and we require a lot of laborers, and normally at this time of the year it's very busy, but this year because of COVID-19 are we having a labor shortage? Yes, we do have some labor shortages because of very draconian COVID-19 measures. If you travel between different cities, there are a lot of limitations. So that is why we are in a lack of tea farmers. But you said it very well, and the government is recruiting some tea farmers from nearby cities so that they can supplement the manpower of the tea gardens here. Well, I think the government is playing a coordinating role in terms of mobilizing resources. Well, there are some smaller tea gardens here, and it's quite different from the tea garden that we saw. And the tea trees that we saw much higher. So this is the new variety. This is a new type actually. It was just introduced here 3 years ago. And the tea garden that we passed through, they have been there for 7 or 8 years, and these tea trees here, they are only 3 years old. And what are those yellow bags for? Well, the yellow bags are actually pesticide, because when the tea leaves are growing, they can easily attract worms. So we are refraining from using too much fertilizers or pesticides. So this is a very environmentally friendly pesticide. This is ensuring the quality and taste of the green tea to the maximum. So this is simply to reduce pollution. So this is the core production area. And what is the production this year that you can expect? Well, it depends. Depends on how much an area of tea garden each household has. This is our main industry here. Every household has a tea garden. So this is how the locals fed on. Well, let's make way for our tea farmers. And let me ask you, how many hours did you work this morning? 2 hours. Well, that's amazing. That's incredible. I can see layers and layers of tea leaves piling up in a basket, and it's very beautiful. Where are you going to send these tea leaves to? I'm sending this back to the company. All right, maybe we can follow your steps and pay a visit to your company. The village is very busy these days because the plucking season has just started. I see numerous farmers working on the tea gardens. So this is their moment of the year. And how long does this picking season last? Because this year we had a lot of rain. And to grow the best tea, you need to have a temperature of 25 degrees. And when the temperature is right, it grows very fast. So that is why this year the picking season is actually earlier than normal. So you said most of the tea trees are 7 or 8 years old, but to my knowledge, Taiping Houkui has the history of plantation for 100 years. So each and every year we exercise some management measures over the tea garden. We cultivate the tea trees every year. We attach a layer of moss at the bottom part of the tree so it can provide nutrition to the tea tree. So if it's a very old tea garden, we have to dig out the tea tree because it's too old. We have to replace them with new trees. Are we taking the wrong way? I think it should be in that direction. Yes, I think you're right because it's just rained a couple of days ago. It can be very slippery on the road. So all the tea farmers, they have gone through some sort of training. Yes, we have to do that. We have to let them know what is the standard of plucking. And they need to know the precautions that they have to take while picking tea leaves. Safety is very important because you're working at some height. The slope is very steep. And safety is very important. So where are you taking me to? So we have to pass the very big tea tree and then go to the company of tea processing. So you have a very big tea tree here? Yes, and that's 200 years old. So how come it's 200 years old that you never replace that with the younger tree? Well, that is like the mascot of the tea trees that we grow here. We'll be very careful. It's very steep. So we are looking for the best tea in this neighborhood. I have actually walked some distance and I'm sweating. A lot of admirations for those tea farmers. How long is this picking season? Normally it's 20 days. Well, this is relatively a shorter picking season compared to the other teas. Yes. Thank you. All right, this is the king of tea tree. Fantastic. This is the largest tea tree that they have here in this village, and it's obviously much larger than all the other trees that we have come across. We have some visitors here to this village. Everybody is very curious about this tea tree. You can see people taking photos of this tree. And beside the tea tree, there are some fruits. I see apples and bananas. Is that because today is the beginning day of the plucking season? Yes. So where do we climb down? Actually, this is quite difficult. I've made a lot of detours today, and if I were on my own, I wouldn't know how to climb up the mountain and how to get down. We were just talking about that the Houkui actually is growing on those high elevations of the mountains, and we actually produced a short video clip, and let me just play that so that our viewers can gain more knowledge about this tea. little bit more about the Taiping Houkui tea, and we have been walking along the mountainous way, and we got this giant tea tree in front of us, and it's renowned as the king of tea trees here in this village. Why? Because it's 200 years old, and this is just huge in comparison to all the other tea trees we just come across, and we have been walking, but we didn't truly show you how the tea tree looks like. So this is the king of tea tree. Does that mean that it will produce the best tea here? Yes, because this is the king of the tea, and it gives a lot of new branches each and every year. So it's actually giving us a lot of additional tea trees each year. It's quite resistant to drought. As I mentioned earlier, that it's one of the 4 best-known green teas in China. It's quite resistant to drought. It can grow for quite a number of years. Well, how many kilos can this produce every year? Well, each and every year it only gives you 800 grams or 1,000 grams, and it's not very quite significant, and we are trying our very best to protect this tree. And because this is a part of the highlight of the scenery line, it has already become the landmark of this village. Well, this is not the picking season for this tea tree here, although I can see the tea leaves are quite mature. We still have to wait. Well, I think this tea tree is 2 meters tall. It's much larger, much higher than human beings. It takes a very big area, and we have trimmed this tea tree. Take a look. It's very beautiful. It's very round, and it has hundreds of branches. And this is just like the unity of the different ethnic groups in China. All the different branches, just different ethnic groups, and they are growing all together into this very lush and very time-honored tree. So tea drinking is part of the Chinese culture. It's part of the Chinese way of life, and it's part of the Chinese tradition. And the Taiping Houkui tea has been listed as one of the intangible cultural heritages in China. As I was telling you that we were actually following the steps of tea farmers, and we said we're going to pay a visit to their tea company. But no worries. I have a colleague who is already in the tree plant, and she can give you more. Welcome to our program. I'm right now at the processing factory of Taiping Houkui tea. As you learned just now that you have to pick the tea and then process it right on the same day, and take a look at what we have on our floor. It's piling up on the ground, and this is the typical green tea in China. It's renowned as the giant of tea tree, green tea, because it's very large, very long. So those are just hand-picked from the mountains, from the tea garden. They are transported here, and they are ready to be processed. And right now, I'm inside this factory, and this is my first visit to a tea factory, and I wouldn't qualify as a instructor of this process, but no worries. I have Mr. Fang with me, and so let me ask Mr. Fang, what are you doing right now? So I'm cutting the bud of the tree. So what are the standards that you need to follow here? We'll take a look at this tea leaf. It has the two leaves, and in the very center you have a stem. You have to cut the extra length of the stem. So this is the very standard configuration of the tea. And so what is the standard length? So this is 7 centimeters long, and this is the most standard. All right, let me put it in my palm. Let's have a comparison between the length of my hand and the tea. Well, take a look. The tea leaves on the right is a little bit longer, and this is 8 to 10 centimeters, and this is the very standard length of the tea leaf. So what do you do with the 7 centimeter one? Well, this is the bigger one, and this is a different type. And the one on the left is grade 1, and the one on the left is grade 2. So we have different quality grades here. So my job here is to sort them out into different grades. So this is what those colleagues are doing right now. So this is the very first step. You have to categorize them into 2 different grades, and after that, they are thrown into different baskets. So what is the reason of laying it on the table here? Well, because after it was just hand plucked, it's a little bit sticky. You have to spray it flat on a floor. It has to be put on the ground for like 3 to 4 hours, just so it can vaporize the extra air and humidity can disappear. All right, this is the very first step. So what is the next step? And then you have to sterilize the tea leaves, which is downstairs, and that's very critical. Yes, every process is manual, and this is purely manual. I learned that the Taiping Houkui is one of the few tea brands that still feature a hand processing of different links. So the second step is sterilization, and then what is the third process? And that is the shaping. All right, so this is the ground floor. Take a look. Here you can feel the temperature is much higher. So can you show us what is the tea leaves that you just fried? Wow, it's quite warm. How long do you have to fry? And can you give us a demonstration how you do that? Well, it depends on what the tea leaves you have, and if it's very fat, you have to fry it for like 3 to 4 minutes. If it's a very thin tea leaf, it normally takes 2 to 3 minutes or 2 minutes and a half, and it depends. It depends on what quality of tea leaves that you have. So how many tea leaves do you hold in one basket? Well, I have never counted. Take a look. So this is a pan sitting on a charcoal fire, and so you're using your bare hand. And does it burn you? No, it doesn't. So what is the temperature here? Well, this is 150 and 160 degrees. Well, I see you're sweating, and I can feel the heat from here. So what are the techniques that you follow? So although she's using her hand, but there's a distance between her hand and the surface of the pan. So this is just for precaution purposes. And so how do you judge whether it's fully cooked? No, it's not fully cooked. I just need to fry it and stir it, put it up in the air, and then throw it in a pan. And then this is just to cook it a little bit. You just need to grab it and then throw it in the air, let it flip and spin, and then all the humidity will be gone. Well, this is purely based on experience. And you have to make sure that the stems and the tea leaves become soft. It will become a little bit darker. So this is the sterilization. So what is the purpose of this process? Well, because the next step is to dry up. You have to dry up all the tea leaves, and before that you have to sterilize it, and it needs some temperature. I think it's been a minute, and you can see the difference of the color, and you can see that it's a lot drier. It's a lot lighter. So you have to use your hand, just do it like this, like a stir. Because it's 160 degrees. So what is the purpose of this process? So because when it's just hand plucked, it contains a lot of humidity, and you have to fry it like this. And what's the next process? You need to put it here. So, Mr. Fang, can you give us some more introduction about this process? Then the next step is to trim the tea leaves. mountainous area, and the signal is not very good. When you were outside, the signal is much better. And we have learned that in addition to this tea processing plant, at all the households of this village, they have their own processing center. And now we're going to bring you deep into the village and see how the local villagers process their leaves. So this village is built among or along the mountain slopes. And take a look at how the rural cottages or houses are built. And those are very good looking houses. And the locals, they are fed on this industry and they pick teas, they process teas, and then they sell teas. And that's why they have been making more and more money over the past few years. A lot of tea gardens here, even on both sides of the tree. You can see there are some wood piles growing on the mountains, and this is the charcoal that they are going to need to fry the tea or to sterilize the tea. A lot of the farmers, they are returning from the tea gardens, and this is the picking season of this village. At around noon, they're going to all come down from the mountains, travel back to their homes just to process their tea. So at other times of the year, they're just migrant workers in nearby cities. And the roads here in this village are very steep, and that is why I'm losing my breath. Take a look at their houses. You can see a lot of baskets, a lot of tools, and they use to process the tea. So each house or each household has some tea garden. I'm losing my breath because this is a fairly steep road. So I saw my colleague. So your part of the job has finished, and now you are sitting down with the locals and ready for lunch, I guess. Hi, nice to see you again. I'm losing my breath, and the roads here are very steep. Mr. Lau took me here. Let me introduce to you. Mr. Fang is the party secretary of this village. As I was talking to the audience on the way here, that every household has the tea business and they have a tea garden. So this is a very attractive village because of its tea business. Well, let me take off my mask, and I think that you have already started tasting the tea. Well, I believe this is truly incredible because the local villagers, they have kept this business or tradition for decades. The party secretary is also a representative of this intangible cultural heritage, and maybe he can give us more knowledge. So we are holding to the traditional tactics of tea making. And what makes this tea very special is that every process is using bare hands. Each household has a tea farmer. Nowadays, if you go to the other parts of the country, if you visit their tea gardens, they're using machines. I'm talking about tea picking and also tea processing. And they use a lot of modern machinery, but we don't do that. They may have a much larger production capacity, but our taste is the best. Take a look at this workshop, and the tea farmers, they are still busy with the different steps of tea processing, and they are very busy at this time of the year. Starting from today, this village is gonna get busier and busier in the next couple of days, because this is the hand-picking season for the tea leaves. I see a lot of tea farmers carrying their baskets, and they have traveled back from nearby cities just for this tea picking season. 90% of the tea farmers, they are locals here, and in the next 2 to 3 days, we can expect a lot of tea farmers traveling here from other cities, and the government has extended a lot of support in this process because they know that we're having this shortage of tea farmer, and this is the tea picking season, and the government is helping us to stabilize the manpower for tea picking. So in this tea picking season, a lot of the measures are taken by the village. For example, I was told by Mr. Yao that they are stabilizing the human resources of tea farmers, and there are some recruitment activities held at the government level. The government is trying to hire more tea farmers just for this picking season. And take a look behind you, and those are technicians ensuring the stable supply of electricity, and they also have COVID-19 measures taken. For example, the screening of population with nucleic acid test. We are already a low-risk area in terms of COVID-19, but every 3 days, within every 3 days, we have to take 2 nucleic acid tests. Well, we have been talking a talk, but now is the time to enjoy the taste of the tea. Well, you have been here for 3 days, and well, let me ask you, are they of the same grade? Yes. Well, you have just visited that processing plant for like 20 minutes, and have you learned how to categorize the different grades of teas? Well, I think that they have some standards in every step, and at the very beginning, they sort out different tea leaves by length, 8 to 10 centimeters, and this one takes 1.5 of my palm. So this is 8 centimeters. Well, traditionally 7 to 8 centimeters, they would put the tea leaves in a first category. When it is 10 centimeters long, and that's quite precious. So after harvesting the tea from the tea garden, you have to sort them out into different categories and grades. So I was told that the categorization is based on the length of the tea leaves. Well, that's just part of the standards, and you have to look at whether it is one stem surrounded by 2 leaves, and then it can reach if it can reach the length of 7 centimeters, and then it will be put into grade 1. Also, you have to look at the color when it is put in a cup or in a transparent glass, and it has to be translucent. And also, we have a type of tea that doesn't give you very strong green color. This one, for example, the tea leaves, they have been there for 10 minutes, but you don't see the change of the color. Well, take a look at the tea. It's very clear and clean, but when you drink the tea, it's actually very strong flavor of green tea. So you have to smell the fragrance and then drink the tea. The Taiping Houkui is quite different. This is the largest type of green tea in terms of size. Normally, green tea is 2 to 3 centimeters long, but this is averaging 7 to 8 centimeters. And you have to take a look at the soil of its plantation area, It takes a very long time to grow. So normally green tea among all the different tea types features the latest season of picking. And now I can see some teas displayed in front of you, and those are the tea leaves harvested or processed just today. Take a look at the tea leaves. And this is the most commonly seen on the market. So I'm also heading a association of tea in Huangshan region. This is the most commonly seen tea leaves on the market, known as the Taiping Houkui. But we actually have a lot more standards here locally. So this gives you the very green color, and most of the times our customers, they don't know what this is for. This is not actually the most authentic Taiping Houkui tea. The most authentic Taiping Houkui tea, you can feel the weight, and it's very light. But this one is very thin. It's just like a piece of paper. And it's in green color, and the other one is in dark green. So it's dark green, and this one here is light green, or we call it the frog green. So to just sum up, you have to look at the weight, the length, feel it in your hand, and also you need to look at the color. And this is dark green, and this one here is light green. So my understanding of the Taiping Houkui tea is that it's a very special type, and it's a different tree. It's a different growth environment here in Houkui village. All the Houkui tea features this hand processing, and also it follows a different technique in terms of processing. The production is not quite significant, but the flavor is truly amazing. And the teas here are truly well known and well recognized across the country. So today we have learned a lot of knowledge. We know the shape of the Taiping Houkui tea. We know the processing steps of the tea. So this is one of the 10 best known teas in the country. When our customers are buying tea on the market, bear in mind that this is very cheap. I'm referring to the tea on in my left hand, but the most authentic Taiping Houkui tea is very expensive, and it's 2,000 yuan per 1,000 grams. Well, this year I heard that the production is going down. Why is that? Well, because it has much better quality, because we had much rain last year, we have abundant sunshine. The quality is much better, I can assure you. Well, this cup of tea, it feels much better than previous years. But why the production is going down? Number one, because of the pandemic. Although the government has established green channels for us, there is still a shortage of tea farmers. We're not growing larger acres of tea gardens. We're having this shortage of manpower, but we have to go through a training. And because of COVID-19, there is a lot of fluctuations on the cost. Not all the tea farmers, they have gone through sufficient training. They are not picking the tea at a speed that we expected. the government is giving us a lot of support. We try our very best to pull up the production. We can expect the growth of production for some lower grade of tea. Also, we have to carefully manage the price. And now it's 2,600 yuan per 500 grams. And also there is also the price of 3,800 per 500 grams. Well, in general, we're having a very good trade-off. Although the production has lowered, the price has grown up. So in general, we can still guarantee the income of the farmers. So our customers, they have to carefully select the tea. It's very difficult for you to purchase this on the market because the very best tea are very difficult to purchase, and you have to come here early. You have to reserve the tea at an early date. All right, let's have a toast of tea, and well, let me say a few words to our audiences. And this is a great place, and you're welcome to visit this place, have a cup of tea here, and this is the most well-recognized green tea in China. Due to time constraint, this is the end of this program. We're going to have a toast of tea. Let me say thank you to the party secretary of the village. Thank you very much for giving us so much knowledge. I hope all the viewers can stay tuned to CMG. Thank you.